Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today's video is going to be a food series that I'm starting today. And here is the pencil that I have finally decided to get rid of, even though it is my favorite and the color is great for sketching. I don't know how many parts of this series I'm going to do, but obviously I'm going to fill this page with desserts and we'll see what's going to come next. It has been a while since I've posted a video, and that is because my December was super busy. I felt like every other weekend I was either traveling or working, so I didn't have time at all to do any of these videos. And like I've said before in my past videos, I don't want to put out videos that aren't my best work. But since I've gotten my new Ohuhu Honolulu markers, I have been really inspired and wanted to do more realism pieces, so that is why I am getting back into drawing food. As always, the reference that I used for this picture is on my Pinterest page, which is linked in the description. If you can't tell by the sketch, I am drawing a lemon blueberry cheesecake with whipped cream on top. When I pick out food references, I try to find ones with the most color because those are what attract my eye and the ones that I find most fun to draw and color. So this one had a lot of purples and blues and yellows, and I honestly really love how the reference looked, and I think I captured it pretty well. I had sketched these pictures out a long time before I actually colored them in, because I was waiting to be able to use these markers on this. So I sketched off camera when I could, and then when I finally got time to film is when I started to color it in with the alcohol markers. I switch back and forth between using the fine nib and the brush tip a lot, because when I use the brush tip, I'm really trying to blend things, and when I use the fine nib, I use it for details and just to make sure I get the shape that I'm looking at. Not saying you can't get details with the brush tip, but because it is more bendy, I find it harder to do so, and so I just use the fine tip. I did swatch out all the colors that I used in this piece on a note card so that I would be able to put it in the sketchbook with this in case I wanted to know what colors were used where, in case I had a future piece that I wanted to use the same colors. I felt like I was a little out of practice with using alcohol markers, so it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted. But it was so much fun to color in, and I loved all the colors in the reference, and I did enjoy the process of coloring this in, and I honestly was happy with it. I just don't think the colors turned out exactly like the reference, which is fine by me because it still turned out good. What I thought was really funny is the color that I'm using here is actually called blueberry, so I figured it would be perfect for the coloring for the blueberries. In the reference, you could see that the blueberries that were just added as a topping had a different color scheme than the ones actually used in the cheesecake because they were a little more pinkish, and I tried to convey that in this piece as well. I really wanted to open up that new blue sketchbook that I got because I wanted to start a new sketchbook on the new year. But I'm holding off still. Like I said, I want to get further in this sketchbook before I actually start sketching in that one, just because I feel like when I open a new sketchbook, the other one ends up being forgotten, and I don't want it to be that way because this sketchbook's already turning out really good and kind of exactly how I want it to, so I don't want to give up on it yet. I will say, since getting these alcohol markers, I do have more inspiration and a drive to actually create, which is really good, which was what I was hoping for because I was kind of starting to get into an art block where I didn't really want to create. But now that I have these markers, it's just really exciting, and I am actually excited to open my sketchbook and get to drawing so that I can color it. Because in the end, I'm just a girl who loves to color. Now back to this art that I'm creating because I feel like I haven't talked about it in a while. I started on the crust with a really light brown color and then just kept going in with dots and more dots that got darker and darker, and I think it conveyed a crumbly crust like I was looking for. This cheesecake was actually so much fun to color in because there was a lot of blending, and I feel like with the layered cookie that I did second, there wasn't a whole bunch of blending. Also, I'm sorry it took me so long to come out with this video. It was very long at the very beginning. All my footage ended up being like an hour plus, so it took me a really long time to edit this, and I didn't really have the weekends to do that. My realism drawings normally do take longer than my normal style drawings, so that's why this video is a little bit longer than normal, but I honestly kind of like longer art videos, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. And like I said before, I don't know how many parts of this series that I will do. I'll probably just do them when I feel like it. I know I have already sketched out another page that has an apple on it, so I will probably make that part of the series, and I think there's also a pan of food on there as well. So the way that I did the cheesecake swirl was I got the brush tip and kind of started speckling and just randomly placing in the color, and then I would go back with another shade and try to blend that in with the same direction that I did the first color. And as most of my videos go, I do jump back and forth between different sections of the piece just because I don't want to mess one part up, so I feel more comfortable doing another part first and then going back to that other area. So I started shading in these blueberries on the top of this. Don't get me wrong, I normally love to record and make these videos for you guys, which I had a lot of fun recording it, but it has taken me so long to edit and add the voiceover to this video because I've just been putting it off for at least a month now. And I wish it was because I was just busy, which I have been very busy, but it's also because I have not found the motivation to actually edit and put this video together. And I probably only have a matter of time before I actually open up the new sketchbook because I am itching to open it up. I got some stickers off of Redbubble and I just want to decorate it and start that sketchbook already. I'm gonna try and wait just a couple more videos because I feel like I will have had a good start in this sketchbook then. But back to the drawing at hand. So when I do alcohol markers, I try to do the lightest colors first and then layer on till I can get the darkest color. And on this one, I really did enjoy coloring all the purples and blues for this cheesecake. I think the yellows that I had matched perfectly to the reference, so I was super excited about that. And there's so many colors in this marker set that I am so excited to use them. With the smaller set that I had, I feel like there was a lot of gaps in colors, and I was searching for colors that I didn't have on art pieces, so I'm super excited that now there's not as many gaps and I can normally find the color that I need for each piece. So this is the part where I kind of wish that I switched the purples that I used because I felt like it got too dark and it didn't really go super well together with that first mauve color that I put down, but it honestly doesn't look awful. It's just something that I would change if I did this picture again. Sorry if you can hear the heater in the background. It is freezing cold in this room, so I needed some heat, but I do think I enjoy this sketchbook. I actually am a fan of the smoother textured sketchbooks, which this one has a little bit of a rougher texture, which I know I said in the last videos I do enjoy that rougher texture, but I enjoy the rougher texture with colored pencils and not so much with alcohol markers. but this one seems to do good. There's very minimal bleeding and like alcohol marker spread, so that's really nice, and I have been enjoying using this. I don't know if I like spiral bound more than I like just the regular bound sketchbooks. It is nice because it lays flat like this and I'm not having to work in the crease of a sketchbook, but I also kind of miss just having the open sketchbook spread. But even with all this layering, there was hardly any bleed through onto the other page. I do still put that clear mat in between the pages just in case, because I don't want it to happen, but it doesn't happen that often. I have to say I very rarely have problems with an Illo sketchbook, so I do highly recommend them to you guys. Plus, this sketchbook has a lot of paper, so I feel like I'll probably be working on it for more than a year. I don't know why also, but purple and yellow I feel like are such a good combination, and I think that's one of the main reasons why I picked out this reference photo. So I'm finished with all the major coloring parts in this piece, and now's where I go in and will add all the details. I was honestly getting so hungry drawing this because I was just looking at the reference picture and the cheesecake looks so good. Also, those of you who have an Illo sketchbook as well, let me know what you think of those and which one is your favorite. I do think the size of the page in this sketchbook is actually perfect for what I normally draw, and I haven't actually been wanting a smaller or larger sketchbook. I think the page size in this one is perfect. I redesigned my OC Zariah in this sketchbook, and I was able to fit a full body on the page and still add details to it, so I really enjoy the page size. I think my favorite part about this whole cheesecake picture was adding the white gel pen highlights because I feel like it brought it all together and made it actually look like it was glistening cheesecake. I thought I was starting off this year great because I had a couple pieces that I was creating in this sketchbook, but then art block hit me so hard that I didn't want to create anything for a whole month. And sadly that does happen to me, but I'm normally able to get out of it, and I think I am finally able to start creating again. And I don't know if I already said this or not, but with winter coming, it just means the days are shorter and I have less sunlight hours, so I have less hours to film, and I feel like I'm always rushing my process, so the art that I make doesn't turn out exactly like I want it to, and that is part of the reason that it has led to art block. But the important thing is that I am creating again, so that is the upside of that. I really do need to make another video on art block because I feel like I have different tips than the last time I made the video that might help some of you guys. Anyways, for the whipped cream shadows, I actually did use a gray from my other Ohuhu marker set because I needed a really light gray, and that's something that the set that I have did not have, so I just used my old set for that, and I think it was CG001, something like that. But that's what I used for that, and then I finished adding the shading on the lemon slice, and here's where I started going in with the white gel pen. And I did not like the way the lemon was looking until I added the white gel pen. But I'm going to let you guys finish watching the rest of this one, and I'll be back when I start the next drawing.
Where are you going?
This old stomping ground?
I'm coming with you.
No, you stay here and whip up an actual plan. I'll come back when I find one.
As you can see, I do have my nails done now. I got them done for an interview in between the recordings of the cheesecake and this layered cookie, so they are different. I was looking forward to having them done for a couple of videos, but I ended up actually breaking one of them a couple of days ago, so of course I took the rest of them off, so I didn't even get 2 videos before I broke them. I am really hard on my nails just because where I work is very hard on nails, so it's very hard to keep them done, but I do enjoy when they are done because I think it looks very nice. But anyways, I colored the blackberries very similar to the way that I colored the blueberries. I did in fact not color them black because I just wanted them to be a very dark purple because I think that's how they look in real life. But it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted, but I'm not too upset about this one just because I do love the way that the lemon blueberry cheesecake one turned out. I think the part that I didn't like was the color that I chose for the cookie because it wasn't exactly like the reference. And then the chocolate, the shading I did on it wasn't very good. And I kind of hate how I outlined the white whipped cream in the middle of the cookies with regular pencil. But you live and you learn. But like I said, I have to give myself some grace because I haven't done art in a while, so it's not going to turn out exactly like I want it unless I practice more often. And even though this didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to, I was still really happy and having fun with the process of coloring it in, just because the newness of the markers made this extremely, extremely fun. Looking back while I'm editing this video, I am actually itching to draw more so that I can color more. And that may be a problem, or it might not be. It may mean that I will have more videos out, or I will just be coloring and not posting videos. I'll eventually get back to where I'm uploading videos like normal, but in the future, it may be a little bit wishy-washy until it gets to summer, but I'm really trying, okay? One thing I will say is that I really did enjoy how the colored pencil showed up underneath these alcohol markers. It didn't smudge, but it just gave it a little bit of an outline, and I like how that looked. I did have to use my white gel pen on the whipped cream inside of the cookies because I went a little too fast coloring on some layers and covered up some of the white, but I end up fixing that so it does look a little bit better. I can't decide if I like using the brush tip or the fine nib more because I do switch out throughout this picture. And I think it just depends on what I'm doing, whether I want it really detailed or if I wanted things blended. As always, you can see that I go back and forth between coloring the fruit and actually coloring the cookies because I can't stick to one thing or I get bored for too long. I'm really interested to see if anybody else does this as well. I'm sure other artists do, and I'm not the only one, but I do wonder how much of you do it. I think I needed a more brown color for this cookie instead of using these skin tone colors, and that's the reason why I'm not a huge fan of it, because I feel like if I chose more of a brown color, it would have looked very good with the brown and the chocolate. Honestly, I don't get how YouTubers talk about their art process so well because I feel like that's one thing I really struggle to do is say what I'm doing in the video. And Static Wool is probably one of my favorite YouTubers, and if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I love their videos. And I just don't get how they explain their art process so well because I am always watching every second of their videos, and it seems like they never repeat themselves. So obviously I know that I need to improve on that, and I'm trying to get better. So right now I am adding the shading to the cookie, and I'm just going in with my lightest colors and into the darkest colors. And I think this color looks really good with the chocolate color, and I like it a lot more than the color that I started with. It is harder to talk about my process as well because I do the same thing every time that I draw. And also the fact that I recorded this video probably over a month ago and I'm just now putting the audio, so I don't really know what I was thinking when I was doing this. I should honestly probably take notes while I am drawing on what I was thinking and the reasoning behind doing each step, and I feel like that would make this process a lot easier to record. And here's where I added the details and the shading to the blueberries just like I did in the cheesecake picture. I do think I blended these out a lot more than the ones I did in the cheesecake because I was going back and forth between the markers, and using the darker shade and lighter shade, and they look a little bit different than the other one. I kind of wish that I had erased some of these sketchy lines so that you couldn't see them as badly, especially where the whipped cream is concerned, just because it is a white color and I only put gray on it. I kind of wish I had erased some of it beforehand. But obviously there's going to be some stuff that I wish I could change in every piece of art that I make. And that is the thing that I think helps me the most, is seeing what I want to change and changing that the next time I do something else. And it's just a learning process. But obviously, as an artist, you're always trying to improve your art, so being able to point out the things that you're not happy with is a huge step in that. And I keep calling the white part whipped cream, and I think it's actually icing, so disregard the a million times I've said that before in this video. My least favorite part was coloring in the chocolate because there was a lot of details in that small space, and I just wasn't a huge fan of the way it did turn out. I had to turn my desk lamp on at this point because it was starting to get darker outside, and it does give the paper a yellow hue, but just bear with me, it was better than how dark it was. I honestly think I didn't add as much detail to this piece as the cheesecake because I just wasn't enjoying it as much as I did the cheesecake, so I tend to add less detail so I'm not spending more time on it. So here's where I went in with the white gel pen to kind of get rid of those sketch lines so that you couldn't see the orange as much, because of course I'm trying to make sure the icing is white. It's taken me so long to get this video out that we actually had a snowstorm, and I spent 3 hours shoveling snow just so I can get out of my driveway and be able to go to work tomorrow. And I love the snow, but geez, that was a lot. But as you can see, the coloring on the cookie actually did get in the white icing part as well, so I corrected that with the Jelly Roll white gel pen. I kind of wish that I didn't do as much line work that I did in both of these pieces, because I feel like sometimes the less line work you have, the better it looks. And especially on the whipped cream on the cheesecake, I feel like I could have left it and it would have been fine. And the black line art is just too dark for me. But anyways, I'm going to let you guys watch a little bit more of this video and I'll be back in a second. So here's where I started going in with my colored pencils and kind of adding the finishing details to the piece, and it's what brings it all together in my opinion. I added all the outlines to the blueberries and blackberries and they look much better afterwards. I still wasn't a huge fan of the chocolate bar even after I added the details to it, but I don't draw chocolate very often and it was really hard to get details in the small chocolate bar, so I'm not too upset about it. It just means I need to practice more. Honestly, I do like the page as a whole together because the colors are very similar and I think they're very cohesive. So on this piece, I wish I didn't add this graphite pencil to the white part, just because I don't really like the way it looks. I think it looked fine beforehand, but you know, there's going to be something in every piece that you don't like, and this is one of those. Here's where I started to add the line art to the blackberries so that they actually look like blackberries. I'm not gonna lie, I have really bad art block, and I probably haven't picked up my sketchbook in a few months, and I think I'm finally getting out of the art block and wanting to draw more, because for the longest time I just didn't want to draw at all. I was planning on doing a collaboration video with another artist in February, but I feel so bad because art block was just crushing me and I literally couldn't make any art, so it may be pushed off to later. But here's the finished page, and I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're watching this far, thank you so much, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!